Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Here's your host, Morgan Colby and Rick Lemon.
What's poppin', Fantasy Champs?
What's going on?
Why don't you slide over, make some friends with the fat man over here?
You know how weird that just sounded?
Yeah, that's...
It sounded like an old guy trying to be cool with like a kid. You know?
Are you saying I'm an old guy?
No.
What are you? How old are you? 22? 21?
21.
Yeah, 6 years difference between us.
You're kind of an old guy to me. A
Yeah,
little bit.
a little bit of I'm not super old.
No,
like,
no.
Like when we're both 70, we're in our 70s.
Yeah.
We'll look at each other at the exact same
Even
age.
30s.
We'll just be old. Yeah, even 30s. Anyway, welcome to Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. My name is Morgan Colby. I got Rick Lemon with me as always.
What's up?
Today, we are full-fledged into the offseason. Rookie minicamp started. Some OTAs started. I'd love to see Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields and all those guys in their new uniforms with their numbers.
Everyone's looking good
because they get their numbers, and then the Patriots have their
closed off
rookie minicamp because
the only team in the NFL that's closed off for
and Mac Jones doesn't even get a freaking jersey. He gets a t-shirt.
Yeah, a $5 Patriots t-shirt from the Patriot store.
And then he gets a bunch of pictures of what looks like him yelling at Josh McDaniels. So whatever.
So I guess this has nothing to do with fantasy, but the rumor was that he didn't throw a single pass. It was just footwork drills and handoff drills.
Oh, nice. Good. It's good news.
But he looked quote unquote great.
So Pats of them to do that. But anyway, so OTAs are just starting up. Some players are boycotting. I don't know with these new CDC guidelines that people are going to stop boycotting. I don't know.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Bunch of athletes afraid to get sick. So anyway, we're going to talk about our must draft running backs for the 2021 fantasy football season. It should be interesting. The must draft episode is fun. I think we do 2 of these. Do a wide receiver one on Tuesday of next week, but I think we do this twice because I love must drafting players. So we have 6 players here that we're going to tell you that you should definitely draft. This is in no particular order, by the way, because I put 1 through 6 here, and Rick was like, "This is the order that you chose." Like,
no, I didn't. I was just like curious about it.
Honorable mention: nobody. Okay, all right. Unless there's anybody that you wanted to add to the list, but
maybe.
So before we jump into that, check out our website, fantasychampions.com. Follow us on any social media platform. You can just type in the FF Champs. If you head over there, we're looking for writers. We're looking for a social media manager, person, whatever you want to call it. So just go over to that, send us a DM or send us an email at thefantasychampions@gmail. No, Fantasy Champion. There's no S at the end. We won't get the email if that's the case at gmail.com. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or any other podcast platforms, leave a review, share this podcast with your friends. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe. We're almost at 300.
Get us at 300, man.
We're getting closer. 700 more until 1,000. Is the
goals.
So click the bell for notifications, like, and then comment down below players that you are definitely drafting at the running back position in redraft drafts for 2021. I guess this could apply to startups too.
Yeah.
Because everyone's doing startup rookie drafts. Startup dynasty drafts.
Yeah. We do have a little bit of a theme with these running backs. A little bit of a pattern.
Second year players or first year players,
except one. Yeah. Yep.
Except for one.
Well,
all right, you ready to get started?
Yeah.
You want to lead us off with the first guy?
Sure. Number 1 on our list, who was going to be an honorable mention, but we changed it. DeAndre Swift. DeAndre Swift was a beast in the second half of the season last year for the Detroit Lions. I love Swift. Own him in 2 leagues, both dynasty leagues. And you just spelled it DeAndre Swift. Looking on his name. But yeah, they added Penei Sewell in the draft.
DeAndre Swift. That would be such an unfortunate last name. Just drop the S.
Which is huge. Penei Sewell is an absolute monster that they were able to get 7th overall. That's going to help the run game. Obviously, Dan Campbell, bite your kneecaps off. We all know the story.
Yeah, 100.
Said he wants to buy a lion, a pet lion.
Keep it in a locker room in a cage. Is that what he's planning on doing? This is how you bite kneecaps, people. This is how we win
puts
football
his leg
games.
in the cage. The lion bites it off. See, this is what you got to do.
Sometimes you have to sacrifice people in the herd and then throw Jared Goff in there.
Yeah. Anyway, but he's obviously a very old school type of coach. They're gonna want to run the football, win the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
That is perfect for DeAndre Swift. Run the ball, pound it up the middle. Jared Goff's not going to throw the ball 600 times in that offense. So even with the addition to Jamal Williams?
Yes.
Swift will be great. Swift will be just fine. My only concern is something that Morgan brought up before the show, and that is his strength of schedule. It is very early.
Very.
We don't know about like injuries to the defense in like preseason and stuff like that, and how offseason moves work out and everything. But
there it is.
Early rankings for the early rankings is not good for Swift for his strength of schedule.
Stat. That's why I'm talking.
Yeah. So you can go ahead.
Yeah. So for me, fantasy points per opportunity. Always go back to that. I'll be talking about it from now until the start of the season because drafts are only 3 months away.
Stat.
At the end with June, July, and then August. 3 months away.
That's all the redraft stuff.
Yeah, so we're going to be pounding redraft for the next couple months. But anyway, so last year on his opportunities, he had 114 carries, 57 targets, 46 receptions. So he caught 46 passes, 14 rushing attempts, which total out is, 160? 160 total touches on the season. Of those touches, he had 1.1 fantasy points per opportunity, which, so you check that box off, that's there. The thing that I found concerning is that even if you pace him out on a full season, he ended up missing 3 games. He would have gotten 140 touches and then 50 catches, so it would have been 197 total touches on the season. But I paced it out to all of his starts. Okay, all right. Stupid program screwing me up. I paced out all of his starts from last year. Starting from week 9 to week 17, he missed week 11, 12, and 13. Or this is week 10 to 17, sorry. But a week 11 through 13, he was inactive. He was hurt. So he paced out 192 carries, which I was like, I don't like that. But he had 74 targets, 64 receptions, which is an insanely good catch rate, by the way. He caught 64 passes. He had 867 yards, which the efficiency is not exactly what you want to see, but he also didn't get the rushing attempts that you want to see. And then 480 receiving yards and 16 total touchdowns. So because of the touchdowns, because of the sheer volume of touchdowns, this kid had 206 paced out for those starts. He had 260 plus fantasy points, which finished as 4 last year in all of fantasy football. So the big thing that we're going to see an increase here is, like Rick said, the 192 carries. That's going to bite your kneecaps.
Is he going to get 60?
Campbell? He'll probably get
catches.
I think
he'll get like maybe 50.
He's their best pass catcher.
Yeah,
him and Hawk. So
that's true.
I think he'll be right around 50.
Yeah,
is where I think he'll end up. I don't know that he'll reach 400, 500 yards receiving, and it's not like the receiving touchdowns were carrying him. So I think you get 250 carries, and I think he can increase the volume that he's getting in terms of workload. So it'll go between 250, I'll say 260 to 300 touches next year. If that's the case, DeAndre Swift, with his 1 fantasy point per opportunity, automatically becomes easily a top 5 running back if he gets that workload.
Which I don't
it's
see. Very possible.
And you said they got that offensive line improved, and I would say the quarterback really didn't change. I would say a slight downgrade, but I don't know that it's like a massive
downgrade.
I don't think it's like a massive you went from Matt Stafford to Andy Dalton downgrade. I just think it's like a slight downgrade.
You a Jared Goff stan?
I'm not a Jared Goff stan.
So are you just anti Stafford?
I love Stafford. I think he's great. I just think they both kind of play similar games. So
they do. Yeah, that's fair.
I don't think it's a massive change for the Detroit Lions. They're still gonna suck.
That's true. That is true.
And he's going to be great at dumping it off to the running back.
No, I agree
did that
with
over
that,
300 times with Todd Gurley. So
I agree with that part too. The paced out to 16 touchdowns though, I don't think he's going to not with that offense. Like in that team, I don't think he's going to get 16 touchdowns.
But that was on a bad season too.
Might get more carries, might get more yards.
Because he had 8 touchdowns and 2 receiving touchdowns last year overall, even with his small workload at the beginning of the season. So, I mean, and that offense is really bad.
I think the offense is worse this year, though, overall.
Okay, fair enough.
They lost Kenny Galladay. Well, he didn't even play last year.
That's going to be honestly. I think
Stafford.
he's going to get the work. He's going to get the workload.
Mm-hmm.
So that's fine. It's just a matter of So he'll definitely reach 200 fantasy points. It's just a matter of how many touchdowns he gets.
Yeah.
I think that's where the all the factors are going to lie. But like I said, him and Hawk are like the keys to the offense at this point. So they might get as much at work as you humanly can get them,
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, Swift, must draft.
For sure.
Pick him up, grab him. Next guy on the list,
Here you go.
Cam Akers.
The 180.
He went from being a guy I didn't think that should be, because there's so many. Here's why I thought what I thought in the past is because, and I don't think Cam Akers blows. I just think there was guys in the backfield that I was concerned about. Who's the third guy? Malcolm Brown, is it the other guy?
Yeah, but he's gone. He's in Miami now.
So, but I just felt like it was just a lot of people were like, oh, my Cam Akers, because of his 2 good playoff games or whatever, was going to end this, he was basically going to become a, second round pick, first round pick in redraft. And that was what a lot of people were saying. And I was like, ooh, let's slow the roll. It wasn't necessarily me not liking Cam Akers. It was just me being like, let's slow our roll and figure this out. Because we still actually don't know what the Rams want to do. Like, are they going to treat Cam Akers like Todd Gurley? Or are they going to do this splitsy with Darrell Henderson, I mean.
Yeah.
So, but for me, like, the thing that sold me really quickly, if this screen would load, was that Cam Akers had an insane amount of opportunity at the end of last season. And I'm not talking about the playoffs. Like, just take the playoffs out of it. Forget the playoffs.
I think the playoffs, they
do matter. But
very good in the playoffs.
In his 3 starts at the end of the season, I included this week 12 game because he had 21, or week 13 game because he had 21 carries. But I take that one out. We'll just do the 3 starts, smaller sample size. Do you want to do the week 12 matchup or leave that one out?
You can do it. It's up to you. This is your
so
your take.
300. He would have had 347 rushing attempts,
which is stupid.
1,420, but that's Gurley. That's what Gurley did. 1,429 rushing yards. He did not score a touchdown. Now, I think that is obvious. That would obviously change because
he's not going to
not score touchdowns.
He scored 2 in his 2 playoff games.
Yes, he scored 2 in 2 playoff games. So, and then he had 53 targets, 37 receptions for 395 yards. So, if you're going to say like he does something like this, 1,700 yards and 30 catches gets him to 200 fantasy points, and then whatever he adds on top of that in terms of touchdowns would just be like icing on the cake.
Yep.
The only concern for me is that they go split with Darrell Henderson, and it's 10 for him, 10 for, and 160 is a respectable number, but it's not a high-end running back.
Yeah.
So there is some concern there, but I'm not sure. I'm going to look up his ADP on Fantasy Pros while you talk, because I want to figure out where he's landing and see if it's worth it.
I'm not too worried about Darrell Henderson. I do think there is a possibility that they want to use him more than some people think they will. But I still think Cam Akers is the guy. I think he showed that in the playoffs, and how they used him at the end of the season.
What was the playoff?
I think he had 28 carries and then 18. Yep, 28 carries and then 18.
Can I paste those games? No, I can't remember.
But
that's a lot.
And he was solid. He wasn't anything crazy, but 5 yards carry, 4.6. That's very good. Touchdown each game. Very solid. I think this Rams offense, they might try to go back to, was it 2018, where they were like the Showtime?
Yeah.
Where they had Brandon Cooks and Kupp and Woods and Jared Goff.
By the way,
Gurley was still
those two games you're talking about in the playoffs, the pacing didn't change. It's still around 350 to 360. Yeah. It was actually a little bit better, but I don't know what it's like if you add that into those certain games. But anyway, continue.
So I think there's a chance for that, and Akers will be used in a Todd Gurley role, and they're just gonna dominate. Like I really do like Cam Akers a lot. My concern though is the offensive line on the Rams is not as good as I think I want it to be. But I'm
early 6th round pick, dude.
This is 2020.
Are you freaking kidding me?
2020. He was looking for the ADP on Cam Akers, and he saw 6th round, and he just
get real sweaty.
His pants just came right off.
Oh man, hold on. I'm gonna see if I can do it on Underdog.
Yeah, you do that. But Cam Akers, he's a beast. Like I said, the offensive line does scare me a little bit. It's kind of old, but not too worried about it. They were good enough last year. I think they can be good enough this year. Again, strength of schedule very early, but it looks very good for Cam Akers. Everybody loves Cam Akers. It's just a matter of where is he going to go. But if he's there, and you need a running back, I'm perfectly fine with Cam Akers. Do you know in the Dynasty startup I did about a week ago, he was the first player off the board second player off the board not quarterback.
Being a quarterback.
Yeah. McCaffrey, and then Akers, and then Swift.
That's ridiculous.
He was I think the 112.
Okay, so this is not letting me in. I was gonna go to Underdog and get ADP because that's actually gambling money.
So that's how you know it's
that's
good.
How you know people are actually doing it.
Yeah. But I am curious to see where that is.
Find a 12-team.
Dude, if they use him like early though,
12-team slow draft.
He'll be a beast.
I'll enter that now.
Or you're just gonna enter the draft to find out where his ADP is?
Yeah, and then I'm gonna leave. I don't even have money to gamble. I don't know why it let me in. All right, so
he's right there behind Zeke.
Wow, dude. Okay, so his
head of Aaron Jones.
His ADP and Underdog Fantasy, and this is for best ball, so take it with a grain of salt, but I would assume this is going to be what it looks like in August, is 10-7. So he's going as the 10th overall selection.
That is high, dude.
But I see, the thing for me is that I feel like... Is that with everybody? Oh my God, dude. That's insane.
Yeah, that is with everybody. So the 110, first round. Do you want to do? Well, you're sitting at the back. Let's say you're in a 10-team
must
league.
draft, but is that something that you want to actually?
I think. Let's say you're in a 10-team league. I would go Chubb first, but what if you're like sitting with a 10th pick and you go Chubb with the 10, and then the turn you go Cam Akers? That's not bad.
Yeah, you take a risky guy, and then I can't believe Chubb. Chubb should be going ahead of Akers.
Yeah, 100%. I think he should too. I would take him over. I would take Cam Akers over Aaron Jones though. Although we'll see what happens to Rodgers. But
yeah, that's fair. But anyway, would you still consider him a must draft at 10-7?
He's not a must draft at 10th overall.
Yeah.
But in general, I think he is a must draft.
I think that's crazy. Like,
I think that is a little high.
It's a little high. So, I would say,
but it's not like,
I would say if we get to August and normal person drafts where
I don't think that's actually crazy. It's high, but it's not like he's a second round pick.
Oh shoot. Okay, so I started this.
You need 11 more to
that's
start.
Why
good,
nothing,
so you can stay in there until it
I'm
fills
gonna
up
stay in there
and then leave.
This is how I think this is how we should do our mock drafts. Do a long form mock draft in here.
That would be
not funny. A mock draft, but get the picture.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think at 10-7 it is a little bit more difficult for me to call him a must draft, but I don't think that's where he's going to land by the time August floats around. I actually think he'll probably move back a little bit because there's going to be Henderson hype and
hype for other guys too.
Yeah, that's fair. So anyway, let's talk about our next guy, which is Antonio Gibson. This is also my guy. Now, this one's I feel like it's a little bit farther out of a stretch because
this is, I think, a definite must draft player for his spot.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Like we just talked about Cam Akers, who is like over the top and going to 110.
Antonio
Swift,
Gibson's 19-8.
I've seen 19-8. Oh, 19th overall, 19.8. I thought he was like 19th around, 8th overall. I was like, what the heck?
Okay, I'll say 19th overall pick. Sorry.
Yeah, so that's a little better for me. Like I've seen Swift go crazy high. I've seen Akers go crazy high. The one guy I haven't seen like jump to me is Gibson. I've seen Gibson consistently like go in the third round, and to me that's every year there's a running back in that third round. Last year, I think was kind of the one year where there wasn't. Because it was kind of like a weak running back class with old guys. Like remember like Melvin Gordon, who else? Le'Veon Bell. Like there was some gross picks in that third round, but I think Taylor by the end of the year was like a late third round pick, so you could maybe count him. But typically there's like that third round guy that just breaks out. McCaffrey's the year that he broke out, he was a third round pick. Dalvin Cook, I think the year he broke out, he was an early third round pick. So we usually see once a year a guy in that third round breakout. I think it could be Gibson. He's going to be the guy there in Washington. Some people were like, oh, they might draft a running back. Like the ETN thing. Remember that?
Yeah, right.
They did not do that.
They did not do that.
He is the main guy in that offense.
Yeah.
We've obviously seen the comparisons with Ron Rivera comparing him to McCaffrey, which is amazing. And you could look at those end of the season stats, but he got hurt.
Yeah, he got hurt. I'm trying to do the math. And
it was an ankle injury, so he really was not the same player after he got hurt, in my opinion. And I think in the playoff game too, he really wasn't the same guy. But before he got hurt, he looked really solid. And this is a team that I think with Fitzmagic, he's going to be a gunslinger, but they also will run the ball a good amount. He'll be involved in the passing game. It's a really solid pick to me with high upside, and I think a decent floor as well. Like, I think he's just an overall good pick, and if you can get him in the 3rd round, that's a fantastic pick.
At worst finish for him.
At worst.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta look up running backs, but probably like RB15.
Okay, that's
like
fair.
I mean, if he stays healthy.
So, like Rick said, I wanted to pace out all of his starts from week 10 to 17, or like 11 to 17, and it was a little bit more difficult because he had this ankle injury and he played 2 games. So I just took week 11, 12, and then 16 and 17.
You included the ankle injury in there.
I know. I took that out in my math.
Okay.
So he would have paced out to 260 total attempts on the season, rushing attempts, and then as far as like this pass catching opportunity, you probably have like roughly 3 a game. So if you pace that out to a full season as well, you're talking somewhere between 40 to 50 catches. Is that right?
Yeah, it would have been more than. So you included the game where he got injured and it had 45 targets. So it would have been more than that.
Yeah.
Probably would have been like 60.
That's what I just did.
Targets.
So you take what is it? Six targets, 9, 10 targets, and then divide that by. So it's like
whatever.
3 and a
math.
3.5 catches per game.
But yeah, it's
I don't mean targets.
solid.
I meant to say catches. But it's a very good number. So the big thing for me is that of that, he actually did extremely.
Yeah, it's like 48. It's 48 catches.
Over that course of time, he wasn't great in terms of yards per reception. On the season, he had like 7 yards per reception. So not as good as you want to see pass catching. But the thing that was surprising was his 5.36 yards per carry over the course of these games. So obviously that's not going to happen. But I feel like when you look at this, as long as this kid gets 250 to 300 touches, I think he's a lock to be a top 15 running back or better. You know what I mean? And I love Antonio Gibson. I spent a lot on him in dynasty leagues, but he had a 0.94 fantasy point per opportunity. Obviously, you pace that out. That's like 270 to 290 total fantasy points on the season, based on giving him like 250 to 300 touches. So I think for him, yeah, he's one of those locks to be a top running back. And I think out of all these guys, like you talk about Swift has Jamal Williams. There's also the chance that there's possibilities that he could actually crap himself because he's in a terrible offense. And then you have Cam Akers, who's on the Rams, that's going to be a good football team, but there's also questions of whether or not, for me personally, there's questions of whether or not they're going to use Cam Akers in the same way they did at the end of the season. Maybe they try to get Henderson involved. If they don't, it's great news for Akers. If they do, then it's bad news for Akers, and you wasted a pick on him. Gibson is the only guy here that I feel like 100% safe like taking.
Yeah, I think Akers might have a slightly higher ceiling. Like Gibson doesn't have a low ceiling. Like he's still got a high ceiling to me. Yeah. But Akers, if he gets Todd Gurley work in that offense, like he's gonna explode. Yeah. So you can make the argument. I think Akers does have a higher ceiling, but Gibson's floor is very good, and he still has a high ceiling, and you can get him later. I think it's perfect. They also drafted what's his name? Samuel Kasumi? I don't know how you spell that.
Yeah.
Pronounce that. But he was the offensive lineman from Texas. He played left tackle, right tackle. Was projected by a lot of people to go in the first round. They got him in the second round. So if he ends up being like a first round talent on the offensive line, their offensive line was okay last year. You add him, gets better. I mean, they have pieces on that team where it's good. It's looking good for Gibson, I think.
Yeah. Here's another guy that I think is falling out of the conversations just a little bit. And it's because there's going to be nothing that goes to him through the air. So there's some concern there, but it's J.K. Dobbins with the Baltimore Ravens. He's going in the 3rd round right now, 3rd or 4th round in redraft. The big thing with Dobbins, I think, and I paced out his
He's
numbers.
Going in the 3rd round, you said?
Yeah, something like that.
I still like that a lot.
But his big issue is going to be they like to run the football, so we know he's going to get opportunities on the ground. And he had 1 fantasy point per opportunity last year. The big thing for him is that there is and will never be pass catching opportunity in that backfield, no matter how many people want to say there will be. He did have 18 catches last year on his small amount of work on the season.
That to 25.
Yeah. I mean, it could be very good. I'm gonna go from week 12 to 17 just for kicks and giggles because he was on the COVID-19 list. He had 198 total carries, 1,360 yards, which is 6.85 yards per carry in that offense. Like that, they got Mark Ingram, and he's an old man, and now they got this young kid. And
stud.
Yeah, 19 touchdowns is what he paced out to. The big killer here over the course of this sample size of 5 games, 6 targets, 3 catches.
Yeah, that's not
so
great.
If he does end up getting a Mark Ingram workload and is more efficient with it, yes, he's going to be very valuable. He'll probably finish as a low-end RB1.
He had 2 targets in the last 5 games of the season.
Yeah.
That is so disgusting. Can I see the playoffs? Real quick.
He
had 6 targets in 2 games.
And 4 catches.
Only had 19 carries, though.
Yeah, so there's about 2 catches a game. 3 targets.
Man,
yeah,
that is gross.
So, but for me, I think for him, he had a very low target share, and it's not really him. It's the offense. Like Mark Ingram didn't either, and I kind of want to see Mark Ingram's like how many touches he had the year he was actually good for the Ravens back in what was that 2019?
Yes.
So in 2019, Mark Ingram had a total of okay, it didn't go there.
You're looking up those Mark Ingram stats, bro. That's kind of annoying.
Gross. Anyway, so he had 202 rushing attempts on the season, and he didn't play the last week of the season. So if you give him every single game, he had 215 touches. So and then he had 31 targets, 28 catches. So I think that's something that you could see.
That I think
the same workload. But if it's more efficient,
I mean, it's not like Ingram wasn't inefficient though.
Yeah.
Where did Ingram finish that year? What year is this?
I think he was an RB.
He was in a low end RB1, right?
Yeah, I can go back to 2019 and check it out. This isn't half PPR. He was the I think he was a low end RB1.
RB8.
Yeah, he's the RB8.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where Dobbins will finish this year.
No higher though, unless he gets an absurd
yeah, that's the
amount
problem
of
with
work in the
Dobbins.
air.
But I mean, I still love the value where he's going, where you can get a sure thing to me, high end RB2, low end RB1 in that like late 3rd round range where he's going right now because you said 3rd, 4th. That's very solid. I mean, Ingram's gone now. So that's 72 vacated carries. I think we'll pretty much all go to Dobbins. Because Gus got 144 last year. I think they'll still use Gus. They love freaking Gus, the bus.
And they always use him. But yeah.
I don't think like he's going to get like 140, 150 for carries. And then Dobbins, I think, will get majority of the little pass catching work that will be available in that Ravens backfield. Yeah. He will get. And then you bump him up to around like 200 carries, which is what Mark Ingram got that year.
Yeah, and like 20 catches.
I mean, that's solid. It's not going to be a top like 3 running back, which is why I think people are fading him. But it's very, very solid, and I think week to week he'll get you in half PPR those like 12, 13 fantasy points that you need.
Yeah.
With like a 20-point week here and there, and I think that's very solid value in like the late 3rd round. Where
who would you rather have?
Running backs?
Dobbins or Miles Sanders?
Dobbins.
Dobbins or Chris Carson?
Dobbins.
Dobbins or David Montgomery?
I actually think that's closer, but Dobbins.
Okay, I would take Monty because I like Monty a lot.
Yeah, that's fair. I like Monty this year.
Josh Jacobs in the 5th round.
Yeah, I'll take Dobbins over Jacobs.
Oh my goodness, 5th round Josh Jacobs.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, I like Dobbins a lot.
Yeah.
Going into the season, we talked about Clyde before. Clyde is a guy that you want to draft. So he was the last guy that we were going to talk about, but we don't have time.
Okay.
So we'll just skip over him. But he's a must draft. You know the reasons why. Go back and listen to a running back show previously. I think it's a 2nd year running backs. Go listen to that one. You'll find out how we feel about Clyde Edwards-Helaire. But the last guy that we're going to talk about is Najee freaking Harris. This is a rookie running back. He is going pick 19. End of 2nd round.
I like it. I like that.
That's and this is like freaking May. So hopefully this ADP stays there with what's his name? Najee Harris.
Yeah. Would you take you would take Harris over Dobbins?
Yeah.
Yep, me too.
So he has the according to Fantasy Pros, he has the easiest schedule. of the 2021
Oh, I like
season.
that. Which is weird because he plays Baltimore and Cleveland are both 2 decent run defenses, right?
Yeah. They're relatively.
I
good,
guess it's the Bengals. Everyone makes up a big.
Everyone
Bengals
else
is probably bottom 3.
Yeah. So, we've talked about Najee before. when you go back to the days of Le'Veon Bell,
Yes, yeah.
and I can pull up a year or I'll just pull up Le'Veon Bell's full stats and go back to Pittsburgh's days, just to give you an idea. Under Mike Tomlin, which is his entire career, correct? How long has he been coaching the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Like 2012,
Yeah,
something like that.
so this is every season for Le'Veon Bell with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think it was 5 years, 6 years maybe. Le'Veon Bell played in his rookie season 13 games. He had 244 carries.
Oh my gosh.
In 16 games, he had 290. He played 6 games and still had 113 carries in 6 games. 113 carries. Some running backs would kill for 113 carries, and he had it in 16 games. 12 carries in 2016, where he had 261 carries, and then he played 15 total games where he had 321 rushing attempts.
With
This
85 catches and 106 targets.
This is what I was about to say. This, my friends, is just
goodness.
rushing.
That's 400. That's essentially that is over 400 touches.
Yeah, every single season. So let's just go back to the rookie season, 2013. Le'Veon Bell. Things change in the NFL, do they not? So 7 years ago, probably very different. But Mike Tomlin gave Le'Veon Bell 244 rush attempts and 45 catches, 66 targets total. So he had basically 310 opportunities and had 289 touches. If Najee Harris comes into the NFL, and I actually think he's probably going to be more efficient than 3.5 yards per attempt and 8.9 yards receiving, which is what Le'Veon Bell had his rookie season. If any guy that gets 250 plus opportunities is worth drafting, and I think Najee is a very, very good running back. Like I think in last year's class he would be top 3, maybe even the number 1 guy next to Taylor. So
he would have been in the Taylor, Dobbins, Swift area, which were the consensus top 3 guys.
Yeah. So, but Najee Harris is just he's a very good running back. They drafted him with a 1st round pick. Running backs drafted in the 1st round, the history of them finishing as RB1s is very, very, very good. Very good.
Yep.
Because there's not a lot of running backs that go in the 1st round. So when they do, the draft capital leads them to use them right away because running backs don't last. So
especially a guy like Harris who's already 23. Like he's already in his prime.
So he's going to walk in there. There's no one else to take work from him, and he's going to carry the ball a lot.
I mean, Benny Snell had 111 carries last year. I think that goes down. And then the 169 that James Conner had, all is going to Harris. Yeah, that's all going to Harris. What is that paced out to? And by the way,
I can look it up.
Could you look that up for me? By the way, it has been rumored that because last year the Steelers threw the ball a crap ton, they threw the ball 656 times.
Chase.
Well, you're gonna have to hear it. That they want to run the ball more because they threw it so much last year.
I need to get Najee on a
No, I'm not saying run the ball like a huge difference, but they'll probably run the ball more than 373 times. And it's just like it's all going to go to Harris. There's only a single thing, and I said this at draft night, and I'll say it again. The only thing, and I've had this concern with a few players now, is that offensive line, man. The Steelers' offensive line last year was horrible.
Yeah, it's not good.
It was not good at all, and it's still not great. But I remember last year, and even this year, I had the same concerns, but like the Rams offensive line is like, Cam Akers, how good is he going to be with that Rams offensive line? He was still fine because it's a good offense, good coaching staff. And with the Steelers, Mike Tomlin's not, I don't think, the best coach in the world. I think he's a little overrated, but he's still a good coach. And I think it's still a good offense, even though it's, again, a little overrated, but it's still solid overall. It's a good situation. Yeah. And Mike Tomlin freaking loves his workhorse running backs. And he's already said Najee Harris is going to be, he sees him as a 3-down back. He's going to be their Le'Veon Bell.
All signs point to that. And like you look at James Conner's numbers that Rick wanted me to pull up last year, right? It got a little funky at the end of the season because, It got a little funky at the end of the season because he got on the COVID list and then he was inactive because of an injury, and it was 10-5-9. Like the season didn't end well. And I think that a guy like Tomlin, who loves workhorse running backs, has struggled with James Conner because James Conner can't stay on the field. He wasn't able to stay healthy for any of the time that he was playing. But anyway, I pasted out for the games that he started before he was on COVID, the COVID list, and he had week 1 through 11. 232 carries, 40 catches. About 272 opportunities there for him to make some fantasy points happen. So I feel like that you can definitely book like Najee for 250 or definitely
I think that's
more.
like borderline worst case too. Like I think he'll get more opportunities.
That's what I was
than
gonna say. Over under 250.
That's where I think he'll be about 250, but I'll say over.
Okay.
If I have to bet.
Yeah, I would say
I think it'll be about there.
it's going to be just under 275 is what I would say.
Yeah.
Because if they're going to run the football more, and they were already running it a lot with Connor and all that stuff,
they'll probably I could see like 255, 260.
Yeah.
But let's say he gets that.
Yeah.
He'll be more efficient than James Conner, I think.
I agree. Yeah.
So that's still like a decent fantasy season, and then plus more efficiency.
Yep.
So at worst case scenario, what is that, like low end RB1?
Yeah,
like,
I know. It's
high end RB2. Like it's ridiculous. Yep.
So
Jinx.
Yeah. Seriously.
He's a beast.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15th running
Joe
back
Mixon
off the
should
board.
not go ahead of Najee Harris.
Yeah, I know. Joe Mixon is still 23 years old.
25.
20. Is he? No, he's not 25.
24. Sorry, 24.
But anyway, yeah, Najee Harris is just I think they're like, let's go through this list one more time that we were just talking about. Chances DeAndre Swift ends up as an RB1.
Oh, you're gonna do this on me?
I'm gonna do this on you.
I'll say like 60%.
Cam Akers.
50%.
Chances Cam Akers an RB1.
Like 70. A little
Chances Antonio Gibson's an RB1.
higher. I'll say like 60.
J.K.
70.
Dobbins RB1.
Like
40, 50.
40, 50,
Yeah. Najee Harris RB1.
Probably like 70.
Okay.
60, 70.
Yeah, I'm on
the Harris train.
It's we're Harris truthers now, I guess. Clyde, we'll do Clyde too. What do you think, Clyde?
Like 50.
50. Okay.
Yeah. Probably the low. Him and Clyde and Dobbins, who still have good chances, but are probably the lowest on this list.
Yeah. If we were in drafts in August and you listen to this podcast, like these 5-6 guys that we just talked about, you have to get them on your team. And it's like Akers is probably the highest buy that you're going to have. It's
Akers
tough,
is the hardest one, but he also might have the highest ceiling. Is that fair?
Yeah. Him or Harris.
Him and Harris, I think have the two highest ceilings.
But I think all of these guys are really good.
And
they all have something in common, and they're all playing in the first 2 years of their career.
I would take all these guys over like the Josh Jacobs of the world.
Yeah. And there's a lot of guys out here. Like,
Miles Sanders.
Like you have, McCaffrey's obviously going to be the 101. Cook is going to be the two guys. The 201 is that the right way to say it?
I think Barkley's probably the 103. And then, or Henry, you think?
Yeah.
Kamara.
And then, but after that, like you see these guys like Taylor is good. Kamara, I know you have your concerns with. But then you have Zeke, who's an old man, and that could be a bad situation.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I don't know what Zeke is going to do. So there are some big questions here after Derrick Henry that are going to have to be answered. But you have guys like Cam Akers.
Even Derrick Henry is 27. They're going to run the ball a lot.
I know. They're going to run the ball.
But,
like,
eventually, it's going to catch up to him.
But you got Chubb. Eckler is in Los Angeles, and there's some questions with the coaching staff whether or not they're going to do the same things with him. I would say they are.
I would say they are too, but
but the Joe Mixon has been a disappointment every single year that we wanted to draft him, and he didn't get there. And then you have guys like Najee, Antonio Gibson, Clyde, DeAndre Swift, J.K. Dobbins, all coming off the board, and like kind of in the same vicinity.
Yeah.
So. Like the way that and then you still have like Miles Sanders is a perfect draft pick at that spot. Like,
I would rather take Swift in the second round or the third round where he's going. I'd rather take Swift in the third round.
Mike Davis is going 51, by the way.
That is
overall
way too high. But I would rather take Swift in the third round than Derrick Henry or Kamara at the 1.5 and 1.6.
Okay, fair enough. This might be a year too if you're a late first round pick kind of guy, unless you fall in love with a guy in the second round.
Yeah,
I mean fall in love with a second round running back that you can justify jumping into the first 4. This could be a perfect year to draft a wide receiver first. That's a hot take, but
who's the wide receiver though?
Great question. You have Tyreek probably end of first round, Stephen Diggs, Devontae Adams, some of those guys. The Packers don't know who they're gonna have at quarterback.
Yeah, that's a concern.
So anyway, there you have it. DeAndre Swift, Cam Akers, Antonio Gibson, J.K. Dobbins, Najee Harris, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, must drafts.
Draft them.
Draft every single one of them. Get them on your dynasty teams, startups. Get them on your redraft teams. Every single league that you're in, your keeper leagues, any league, auction them away.
Yep.
Get every single guy. We'll see you Thursday, my friends.
Take it easy, guys.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Champions Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes and YouTube and follow us on Twitter @TheFFChamps.